Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review Team News reaction video as Rangers prepare to take on Servette at Ibrox this evening. The team lines have just dropped, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Joshua Barry inside the bowels of Ibrox in the newly renovated press room as we discuss the team that will start against the Swiss side this evening. It's hot off the press, Joshua. Why don't we fire it up and go through it?
I'll let you go through it first, Derek, and we can maybe just go through it line by line. But a few changes from the weekend. I think a generally offensive enough team. Not surprised to see one of Jack and Lundstrom in there because of the type of game I think it'll be tonight. But overall, you know, you've got two number nines, you've got two creative midfielders in Lammers and Cantwell. You've got Raskin can do a bit of everything as well, can't he? And you've got at least one fullback who's going to be playing really high up the pitch. So pretty offensive team, options limited in certain areas, but pretty happy with that generally. It would have been nice to see Cifuentes, but I think that was probably a bit ambitious off the back of the fact that he's not played any minutes yet.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm personally disappointed not to see him start, but he is on the bench. That team, folks: Butland in goal, Tavernier, Goldson, Suter and Barisic at the back, Raskin, Jack, Lammers and Cantwell form the midfield, Danilo and Dessers up top. On the bench for Rangers this evening, they go with McCrory, Wright, Lundstrom, Hagi, Cifuentes, Sima, Dowell, Sterling, Wright, Balogun, King and Devine. So that is a team that's a few changes from my predicted lineup. I'm sure yours as well, Joshua. I'm delighted to see Todd Cantwell start the game. I don't think Rangers can afford to have him on the bench, so I'm hoping he puts in a very good performance tonight. I think he could be a potential match winner for Rangers this evening. Likewise, it's good to see Danilo get his first start, his first appearance at Ibrox as well. So I'm sure he'll get a rapturous reception when he comes out the tunnel. Hopefully he's firing all cylinders alongside Serial Dessers up top, of course. It's probably I would have Cifuentes instead of Ryan Jack if I'm being brutally honest, but I can understand why Michael Beale has selected Jack in there. I think midfield is crucial tonight, Joshua.
Yeah, and I wonder what form. I mean, I've just put it up roughly there as Raskin at number 6 because he's played there predominantly recently, but you know, it could be that with Cantwell playing off the left, Jack kind of covering for Tavernier playing on the last line. I don't know who will start on the right and the left up top, but you imagine it'll be very fluid and free. Could be Ryan Jack playing in front of the centre backs with Cantwell on the right next to Tavernier and Raskin is the option on the left side because you're going to need something on a player on the left capable of kind of breaking inside the pitch and playing progressive passes, which both Raskin and Cantwell are. And Ryan Jack also played in that left side of midfield, the kind of left sentiment position quite a few times as well. Lammers, I think, will be in that number 10 position. You never know, Rangers might start in a 4-3-3. They've done that quite often as well. Could be one of Dessers and Danilo off the front, but you'd presume on the basis that they are both number 9s, that this will be the kind of the first opportunity to really see Michael Beale's new Rangers team with a new front three, with a midfield that, although is not new to the summer, it's new to kind of him at the club, I guess, if you look back to January. Still limited options in the defence. Barisic, as we spoke about this morning's podcast or Monday's podcast, I think he somewhat limits what he can do in the left because he's not going to be able to move inside the pitch or build from deep as much as other options. But he obviously does give you that kind of top-class delivery if you can isolate him at moments, and you've got the numbers in the box for that as well, with two strikers and Lammers and James Tavernier attacking the back post as well. It's a kind of custom goal of Rangers in Europe at Ibrox over the last couple of seasons. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Derek, because it's a big game. You know, the disappointment from the weekend is still very fresh, but the best way to get over that is with a big performance. And I think that's a team that's got a lot of energy, that's designed to dominate the ball, and it's now on them to go and put in a performance that really kickstarts the season for Rangers.
Yeah, 3 changes in total, of course. The players that make way are Lundstrom, Dowell and Sima. So yeah, changes there from the team that lost to Kilmarnock at Rugby Park at the weekend. It'll be interesting, that partnership between Danilo and Dessers. I didn't think, I touched on it in the show this morning, Joshua, and of course the shows earlier on this week. Dessers didn't look completely 100% match fit against Kilmarnock at the weekend. Let's hope that the two forwards can strike up a bit of a partnership. It'll be interesting to see Cantwell and Lammers also. There's been a bit of concern amongst the support that Lammers has somehow shunted Cantwell away from what he was doing best at the tail end of last season. It's vitally important that Rangers manage to find a way to play these guys in the same team and get the best out of them.
Yeah, but I do kind of think that that's slightly reactionary to the fact that Cantwell hasn't had a good pre-season, and the pre-season, what is a good pre-season? But, the pre-season performances, as we kind of discussed quite a lot, they certainly weren't the most entertaining. I think they were, the opponents were picked with games like tonight very much in mind. A lot of emphasis on how Rangers will play off the ball. Cantwell, when he came to the club initially, he's played in lots of different roles, and I don't always think necessarily his best positions came when he was at number 10. I think his best positions came when he really had a lot of freedom to go and impact the game in lots of different ways. And to have that freedom, I think it depends on the midfielders who are next to you. Cantwell's going to have more freedom, more onus, less maybe defensive responsibility than Raskin and Jack, one of which you'd imagine will play in that number 6 role and not go forward much, and one of which will be afforded a little bit more freedom comparatively to the other. But I think, Cantwell's been at his best, Derek, when he's had the freedom to go and run games and be right at the centre of the team. We've not really seen a sample size at all of him playing with Lammers. We've seen a couple of games in pre-season, but nothing substantial. So I'd hold off personally my own reservations on that. I think there's room to have two creative players in there, and two really good players in there. You said in your predicted teams today that there's an argument that Cantwell is Rangers' best player. I think certainly on the evidence of last season coming into this season, there's enough of a strong claim behind that. But him and Raskin, they now have to this season go and be successful Rangers players, don't they? There's a lot of players that Rangers have signed this summer that I think have a point to prove, and that can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing for other reasons, but I think this is the first real chance that you get to see an exciting team with two players in Cantwell and Lammers who have different skill sets, but both you'd fancy them to create chances throughout the game. Both have a goal threat, maybe even more so Lammers, and two number 9s in Danilo and Dessers. You're spot on. I think Dessers did look fully sharp at the weekend. It was a difficult pitch. I think that when the ball did go behind, he didn't look electric, but also the fact that it was kind of holding up didn't help him as well. And Danilo, this is the type of game that he's been signed for, to score goals in Europe, to provide a finishing touch that Rangers didn't have at all last season, because I think in the big games under Michael Beale, generally box to box, they were fine. It was in the two boxes. The defence is another topic, something that I think will rumble on for the rest of the transfer window, Derek. But if you're looking to bring more players in, getting to the Champions League is certainly going to help your chances, both in attracting the right players and getting the finances in to do it. So another big night for the back four. I think Jack Butland's looking pretty solid so far. Really quick off his line at the weekend. He might have a big game as well because of the way that Servette like to attack. They're direct. I've not seen their team yet, but I know they're missing a number of players. But indirect, I'm not trying to play down what they do, because I think they're very good at what they do. I think they have a real clear identity. They've come through a lot of adversity to reach this tie. They'll have a lot of belief that they can come and get a decent result here tonight, and that sets them up for their first sellout in however many years back in Switzerland. Next Wednesday or Tuesday is. So big night. It's going to require a lot of big performances, but if Rangers want to play Champions League football, if they want to put on a good case for themselves in the Champions League, they need to be able to beat a team like Servette, and that's the challenge tonight, to take a positive result over there next Tuesday.
Yeah, that match next week, it's the highest attendance since the first game at the stadium back in 2003. So it tells you the magnitude of it. Of course, it's all about the Rangers, Joshua. As they say, they're only here to see the Rangers. I'm sure that'll be getting belted out next week. Have we got the Servette team at all? Is that dropped? I'm on their Twitter page. I can't see it anywhere.
No.
Have you got any team lines there?
I'm trying to look on the... I have. Here we go. So we've got... 4-4-2 they line up in, which and they'll play in a 4-4-2, but sometimes they'll attack in a 4-2-4. They'll defend, they'll press with one Dooley, number 28. They'll press with him sitting a little bit deeper. Cognat, their number 8, pressing higher alongside the two strikers and the two wide players. They go with Mali in goals. Vulos, I think it is at right back. Roulier, Severin, Maziku, Kutesa, Doolin, Cognat. I'm going to struggle to pronounce this one, but Willie Menot, done well so far. Boubacar and Bedia up top. So just off the top of my head, from what I've watched of them so far, they're probably missing three key players there. Their first choice goalkeeper, their white player on the right, their second striker. Yeah, the goalkeepers are captain as well. Key players to watch out for. The number 8, both their central midfielders are, I think, key to how they play, because, as mentioned, they want to commit a lot of players to the attack. They want to attack quite directly, and that can leave the centre quite open. And if Rangers are able to capitalise in that space, and I think they'll have chances. Kutessa's good on the left-hand side, dangerous cutting in on his right foot. I think their number 18, their left-back, Maziku, he was someone who struggled a little bit over the two legs. Against Genk, Rangers play a lot of their football down the right-hand side, so maybe they'll get some success there. And Beddy, I think what Rangers want to avoid tonight is getting their back four isolated with space behind them. Beale likes to have that extra man in there when they're building up, and I think at times against the ball as well. So you'd imagine that maybe that'll be Ryan Jack dropping in to provide a little bit more cover. But yeah, it's gonna be a big test. They're a physical team. They've done well to get to this stage, and I think what stood out from what I've seen of them so far there, because they have a clear idea of what they're going to do, and obviously come through a lot of adversity to reach this stage. But you can't, ignore the fact that they are missing a good few key players as well.
Yeah, I think midfield, as I mentioned, is going to be key tonight. Rangers do need to win that battle if they're going to go on and win the first leg of what is a huge Champions League qualifier. Line weight, it looks like PSV Eindhoven. There's also the £5 million payment as well that will come into the coffers should Rangers get the better of the Swiss outfit over the two legs. Right, just a reminder then, folks, of that team. It's Butland in goal, Tavernier, Goldson, Suter and Barisic at the back, Raskin, Jack Cantwell and Lammers in the midfield, with Danilo supporting its Serial Dessers up top. Ibrox is sure to be rocking this evening. Joshua, you've been to many a European night there. I know there was tickets still available for the game. Servette did return a number of briefs for supporters to go and collect. What atmosphere are you expecting tonight? Do you expect Ibrox will be rocking? I think Servette will be going out to try and keep them as quiet as possible. That's where I think an early goal would do wonders, I reckon.
Yeah, but you cast your mind back to this time last year, Derek. I think it was actually a year ago today, the game against Union, where the first half was really slow and then Rangers scored off the back. I can't remember who scored the first goal that night. It was a looping cross to the back post. Cholak was the second goal. Tillman was the third goal. Was it Tavernier the first goal against Union? Someone remind me in the comments. But the point being,
right now, it was James Tavernier from the penalty.
There we go. Yes, and the penalty I think came off a looping. It just kind of came out of nothing. And so I think whenever Rangers get the first goal, of course, these nights are so special at Ibrox. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a chance for Rangers to really kickstart their season, and hopefully I think. What Michael Beale will be hoping is that he gets a chance, his team gets a chance to go and show something to excite supporters, encourage supporters, and again with that team on the screen, I certainly think there's a lot of players in there who can both score and create, retain pressure, have energy. So yeah, we'll see. We'll be live obviously after the press conference with another kind of half-hour look back at the game. We'll be live on the podcast tomorrow, so lots of you and I content over the next 12 hours. So hopefully we'll have some good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, just go and win, Rangers. That is the message. Thanks to everyone for interacting and watching the programme tonight. As Joshua said, we will be back a little later on. Let's hope we're commenting on a comprehensive win over Servette. But yeah, enjoy the game, folks, and speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.